I want to talk now to Mary Balfour. She also knows a lot about romance and dating. She is founder of Drawing Down the Moon and several other dating online websites, and also recently won Best Matchmaker at the UK Dating Awards. Congratulations, Mary.
Many thanks, Lucy. Lovely to be on your show.
Great to have you on tonight. I want to talk tonight, as you know, about dating, online dating and dating apps. You've been finding soulmates for busy people, busy professional people for a long time now, for over 30 years. What sort of things have changed?
Well, first of all, quick correction. Drawing Down the Moon is not online. My other business, Love and Friends, is. Drawing Down the Moon, which has been really going since the early 80s, matches busy professionals who haven't got the time. Just as you say, a lot of people are working from home nowadays, or they're working in a job context where it's just not sensible to be dating your colleagues. And, of course, the Brits work longer hours than our European counterparts. So there's actually much less opportunity than the old days where, you had all sorts of social life, whether it was the factory, the street, or, aristocratic social events or your grandparents matching you up. It's all much more difficult today and we're much fussier.
And actually, it's interesting that you drew my attention to the fact that Drawing Down the Moon is still a sort of almost like face-to-face agency, because presumably there are some people who just even now don't want to go down the technological route.
Well, this is interesting because I'm in favour really of anything that gets people together. It doesn't matter how you're actually introduced, providing you've got a very sound dating strategy. And I can come back to that in a minute, because really it's how you navigate the first, second and third dates that is important.
What would you say then? Let's say somebody has met someone, they've had a first initial encounter which has gone really well. How do you then navigate dates 2 and 3 to ensure success?
Well, I would say you start with date number 1. Now, with Drawing Down the Moon, where we meet everyone and we do the filtering for you, which saves you lots of time if you're a busy person, and that's why they come to us. With Drawing Down the Moon and with internet dating, I would say that a first date should never be much more than an hour. And beforehand, you arrange it by text and not on the phone, because you don't want to have your date on the phone and then be left with no small talk to break the ice and create that relaxed sort of ambience where you can do proper flirting. And I'll say one other thing. A first date is not where you spot your future partner. All the research backs this up. It's much more likely to be the 3rd, the 6th, or the 50th date where you will recognise your true soulmate.
So do you think this whole idea of online dating and dating apps, if your theory is correct, and it sounds incredibly sound, the fact that there are obviously people out there who are swiping right at every party, who are doing things very sort of quickly, what are the dangers in that?
Well, I don't think it's any more dangerous than meeting somebody in a bar or through a friend. I mean, it's your own choice. I would say never do sex on a first date if you're looking for a long-term relationship. If you want a bit of fun, that's something else. And I know people who've found their long-term soulmates on Tinder, as well as heaps who found them through personal matchmakers like Drawing Down the Moon. It really is what you want. Yes, we hear these stories in all the popular magazines about New York traders swiping right on Tinder and having 3 shags a night, or maybe 10, who knows. But that's very young people, high testosterone, and they're egged on by their peers and all the rest of it. But if you talk to people who've actually used any kind of introduction facility, whether it's online, offline, or whatever, it's really about what you want and how you play your cards on that first date.
It's interesting you should draw attention to the sort of the difference that some different age groups, or perhaps even some sort of different life moments, can actually change the behaviour. Because certainly in my clinical practice, what we're beginning to see is quite a lot of people in their 40s and 50s and actually 60s as well, newly divorced, newly out there on the market. They've never really encountered using technology before. And there's been this incredible spike in sexually transmitted diseases in that post-40-something age group, because it's a bit like being a child in a sweetie shop. This is the new way of dating, and they almost don't know how to handle it.
Well, I think this happens right the way through, actually. It's not just older people who, incidentally, there are more probably older people using Facebook than there are younger people. Not that Facebook is actually a dating thing, but of course that happens there too. And of course a lot of the STDs actually occur in care homes. Did you know that?
Yes, no, we'd heard unfortunately a spike, because again they don't really have the information.
No.
They don't even know that kind of problem exists.
I think that can occasionally happen, but listen, we all get carried away, and this can happen in any age group. I think it's across the board people are using internet dating, and in fact, the new marketplace for internet dating and the apps, the mobile apps, is the older age group. Younger people have been doing it for a while, and now everybody's catching on. And it doesn't really matter as long as you've got the time to do it, because, of course, with online and mobile apps, you will meet lots of people who really, really aren't right. They've misrepresented themselves and whatever. But I would like to emphasize one thing. If you're being introduced to people, whether it's through a mobile app or online, you've got to be very sensible about safety. Now, all the sites give you safety guidelines, but it's so important to remember not to give away your surname, so you don't want to be tracked down on social media, and not ever to say where you work and things like that. Keep it private, keep it separate, and as I say, always meet in a public place and never for more than an hour, because people overexpose, especially after the third glass of wine, especially if you fancy each other. And you know something, Lucy, if you really do like somebody, the real secret to captivating them is to go for the slow burn. Finish the date while you've still got lots more to discover about each other. And then there will be a much higher likelihood of that second date materializing.
How brilliant. Thank you, Mary. That's Mary Balfour there with just a multitude of amazing tips of how to date safely, because that is possibly the absolute key. John is